Good morning. Thanks everybody for joining us today for our Ignite crowdfunding info session. We're happy to have you here. And I'm just going to start off with a brief introduction of ANCA, and then we're going to jump right in. So ANCA stands for the Adirondack North Country Association. We're an economic development organization since 1955, and we specialize in the sectors of the local food system, the clean energy economy, and the entrepreneurial economy. So that's where Ignite comes in under that bucket. And we serve all 14 counties of Northern New York State, and our headquarters are in Saranac Lake, New York. So Ignite is ANCA's crowdfunding website for small to medium-sized businesses. This is a resource that helps businesses raise money for projects that will make a substantial impact on their growth and expansion. So I want to thank Zach Hobbs from our Center for Pandemic Response program for being here this morning, and pass the mic to him. He's going to tell you a little bit about that. Take it away, Zach.
Thank you, Lauren. Throw up a couple of slides just for ease of review. As Lauren said, I'm Zach Hobbs. I serve as Outreach Coordinator for our newly launched Center for Pandemic Response, or ANCA CPR. I'll give a quick introduction. Some of you got here today because you've been through the ANCA CPR enrollment process. Welcome, so glad to see you. And others who have not heard about our program yet. This will be a super quick introduction. You know, we launched back in August. We are ANCA and a network of expert partners across the region, and our goal is to work with North Country businesses and organizations to develop customized plans for resilience, resilience and growth. So just sort of general strength in the future, but also resilience to future economic challenges. And I'm not talking necessarily about another pandemic, hopefully. I'm talking about things like a bad weather season, illness, a big construction project, those things that can really trip up even a really sort of strong, robust, established business. We're providing a range of services, most of them free of charge in bold, including work groups, webinars, one-on-one consultations, and ongoing support from our team here at ANCA to really make sure it's an effective experience for businesses going through our process. We are a 2-year grant-funded program, and our goal is really to streamline new programs as well as existing services for fast delivery to businesses who may benefit from our services. You may be a lot of different people, or you may be multiple folks. You might be a current business owner, you might be an aspiring business owner, and that includes an artisan or home business owner. You might be an employee or a representative of a business in a position to support your employer, or you might work with or lead a nonprofit organization. Our goal and focus, of course, Center for Pandemic Response, is to really look at and address those pandemic-related business challenges. You might also be addressing a challenge that existed before the pandemic or isn't related to it. You might be really strong right now and are just generally thinking about the future, or even establishing a new business altogether. You might also just be curious about our services. We welcome you. We welcome you to our process and our program for that. What this looks like from a process standpoint is you complete a quick interest form on our website. It's just 7 questions. You'll get an automatic email with a link to schedule an interview with members of our team. It's a 30 to 60-minute interview to talk a little bit about challenges you're facing, your needs, your goals, what your business is up to, just so we can get a better sense of how we can best support you. We'll take a look at them, and I really want to be clear that that is a confidential interview and will only be shared internally or with some of our partners who are providing services with your consent. We'll review those to determine the interview to determine which services might meet your business needs, and then ultimately make recommendations. We'll give you a customized report with services that may benefit you and instructions to enroll in them. There's no cost or obligation to this enrollment process. It'll ultimately be up to you which services to enroll in. And we're here to support you throughout that process, really to make great decisions. And we'll share additional resources that may support your business or organization as we learn about them or as we host them. So what do these services actually look like? there's a variety. And again, the goal is you might be interested in one, you might be interested in all of them. We might be creating a strategic plan, developing and growing e-commerce and online sales capabilities, reducing energy costs, applying for disaster-related funding, shared aggregation and distribution services, transition plans to sell or transition your business to new ownership, developing your employees to take on leadership roles, or building belonging for diverse staff and visitors. So a range of services just with an eye and thinking, how can you put different pieces together to be strong today and strong well into the future? So really we're excited to support your business and organization. If you think you might benefit from any of these services or opportunities, or if someone you know, a business owner, an organization leader, an employee might benefit from them, definitely take a look. We have great resources on our website, freshly updated and up to date. Complete that interest form. Again, it's a no cost, no obligation interview to learn more about us, and we'll learn more about you. Or feel free to shoot me an email or a call, and I'm happy to chat more. I'll put all of this information right in the chat. I'm really excited to support your business and support our communities, and we hope these services might be really useful to you, your organization, or organizations in your community. So I will send it back to Lauren. Thanks all.
Thank you, Zach. Next, I'm going to introduce Melinda Little from Point Positive, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her local angel investor group, Point Positive. Thanks for being here, Melinda.
My pleasure, Lauren. Thanks for having me. So Point Positive is an angel investor group that was established in 2014. It is the only organized investment organization that I'm aware of anyway in the North Country. We have our target is well, we've got a couple of different things going on. Our primary mission really is to help develop and nurture the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the North Country. What that looks like really is we invest in promising scalable businesses that have the potential for reaching markets beyond the Adirondacks typically, perhaps even globally. And there are exceptions to that, but that's the kind of one of the primary things. We also do a lot of mentoring and a lot of coaching, and work very closely in particular with the Shipley Center at Clarkson, as well as with other organizations like all of us do. I mean, we're all partners in this whole thing. And Lauren, I think, asked me to be part of this because some of our companies have in fact had some very successful crowdfunding, done some successful crowdfunding. I'm also on the board of the Village Mercantile here in Saranac Lake, and we have also done a crowdfunding campaign, and I've been helping Ignite for several years now, so that's also one of the connections. The way Point Positive works, and I won't belabor it, but if anybody has a venture that they think might be interesting, just send it my way. And we work with companies both who aren't quite ready to do it and aren't ready to make a pitch to Point Positive is what I'm meaning there. But we work with them to the point where they are, if we think they're going to be a good fit. And we also work directly with companies, of course, that are ready to make a pitch. So that's the broad strokes. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Melinda. So next I'm going to introduce Ezra Schwartzberg. He is a past successful Ignite campaigner for his business Green Goat Maps, and he's going to be part of our panel today. And also Danny Delaney at Anka, she is going to be asking the panel the questions and moderating that for us today. So thanks to both of you, and Danny, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I'm the Entrepreneurial Economy Program Director at ANCA, and I'm really excited to be able to talk about this program today, but really, I'm not doing much of the talking. I'm just asking other people, what they know, and we're so excited to have some experts in the room. And Lauren is actually going to be on our panel as well, talking about the program that we have here itself. Thank you so much for being here. Ezra, is it okay if we get started with you? Would you like to introduce yourself, what you do, why you're here, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So my name's Ezra Schwartzberg. I own a contract research company in Saranac Lake called Adirondack Research. And we do invasive species surveys and mapping and all sorts of sciencey stuff. Along the way of doing research, I realized that we were getting better at making maps. So one day we decided to launch a new map company and make recreational waterproof maps to sell in stores. And I was talking to my accountant this morning and I made a comment to her that I think resonates. And it said, I have a PhD, but I don't have an MBA. But it kind of relates to a lot of the stuff with starting a retail business, essentially selling a product. So I've been relying on all sorts of services from ANCA and other partners. And I participated in the Ignite program and it was successful for me. And I can share a little bit about that.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, Ezra, and for being here. Melinda, you introduced Point Positive, but is there anything else you'd like to introduce about yourself that you maybe didn't get a chance to add? Oop, you're still on mute.
Okay, sorry. Always forget that. That's why I often don't mute myself. See, I'm an entrepreneur myself by background. I have lived in Saranac Lake for 26 years. And besides running Point Positive, I'm on a couple of different boards. One of them I mentioned, the Village Mercantile. And I think that's about it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Lauren, how did you start getting involved with the Ignite program?
So I'm the Small Business Services Coordinator at ANCA, and I've worked with lots and lots of different businesses over the years that I've been here, mostly retailers and artisan businesses, but increasingly more different types of businesses. And a lot of them can benefit from Ignite. So I hope that it helps all of you who are here today to decide if it's a good fit for you, and I can help you go forward if you decide to.
Great. Thank you so much. So we're going to start sort of at a 10,000 foot view. Like, what makes a good crowdfunding campaign? Not necessarily through the Ignite platform, but just in general, and what kind of businesses is crowdfunding right for? So Melinda, you've had some experience working with businesses, large, small, global campaigns. What makes a good crowdfunding campaign from that perspective?
Well, let's see. I think, Danny, if you don't mind, I'm going to start by talking about the different kinds of crowdfunding campaigns. And I mentioned Crua Outdoors earlier because they're the poster child, from my point of view, of a company that has really successfully done crowdfunding, but they've done two different kinds of crowdfunding. They've done the product-based crowdfunding, and they use it primarily for launching a new product and getting a sense of testing out whether the market that they think is there for that product is in fact there. And they have used, to that end, Kickstarter and also is it Indiegogo, I think. No, it's not Indiegogo. Is it Indiegogo? Anyway, Kickstarter is their primary one. So I'm going to stop there and not embarrass myself. And they've had a lot of different successful campaigns. And when they first started their business in 2016, they had an initial product, which was their 7-person tent that it's insulated. That's their big innovation, is that they have very high quality insulated tents and other related products. But that was their proof of concept when all was said and done, and they did very well with that campaign. And there are downsides to using a campaign that way, but we can come back to that. So that's one type of crowdfunding campaign. Now, since the last couple of years, with some changes in regulations, there is another type of crowdfunding campaign that is become very popular, and that is a crowdfunding campaign to raise investment for a company. And Crua has also done that. The Village Mercantile did that 3 or 4 years ago when we were looking for funds to rebrand, and we used a platform called WeFunder, WeFunder, which if you're interested in that kind of crowdfunding, take a look. We chose them because they tend to think out of the box in terms of the type of companies they work with. And they're very Main Street oriented in the type of businesses that work with them. So with that kind of campaign, we were raising debt financing essentially. And we were offering perks, as is typical, of course, for a crowdfunding campaign. You can also raise equity for your company, equity investment. And so there's all different kinds, and it's really good to do the research. I mean, we were happy with WeFunder for the most part, but there were certainly some challenges along the way with that. So that's just, I wanted to establish that there's different types of crowdfunding, which is appropriate for different times in your business. And Danny, what was the question again?
That was a great. So just what makes a good campaign, from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, first of all, and this is kind of obvious, but you can't do it on the fly, for sure. You have to do some really extensive planning, and it's a lot of work. I mean, it is, there have been people that I've worked with who thought really all is involved. You're going to put it out there and people will come. Well, that's not how it works at all, particularly now because it's become more and more sophisticated. And what I mean by that really is that there are people who support it with all kinds of particular digital marketing strategies and whatnot. But all that said, you have to really plan it out. If going into it, it's really, really helpful. And if anybody's doing it, I would highly recommend this, in that you line up people who are going to participate in the campaign in advance, so you can launch it and say, well, let's say you have a $50,000 goal, you can launch it and say, we've got $20,000 already committed, or $25,000 committed, because people want to come in on a winner. That's who we are, probably as people, but certainly as Americans, that seems to be who we are. You have, in terms of planning it out, having all the messaging and the stories that are going to help you have an effective campaign is super important. So, and also don't underestimate how long it's going to take. And anything like this takes longer than you think it's going to take. So plan out longer than you think, and maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised. I unfortunately never have been. It's never happened to me. So those are some of the main things. And being able to communicate something very specific about what you're looking for. I think product campaigns, I think, are probably the easiest, because you've got something very clear that you're trying to raise money for. And that's very specific for Kickstarter and whatnot. Something amorphous isn't gonna go. So you have to create excitement. You've got to create trust in your team. All of that is done up front to a large extent. And so allow at least 3 months probably for preparation. And there's one more thing I was going to say. It'll come to me and I'll mention it. But those are the things that, to my mind, will go a long way towards making a successful campaign.
Melinda, that is great insights and some really nice sort of clear takeaways about things to think about before you get started. Thank you so much. Ezra, you've done this specifically through Adirondack Ignite, which is run through Adirondack North Country Association. We'll talk about the platform in just a few minutes. But what made a good crowdfunding campaign from your perspective? You were successful in doing this, and tell us about how you did it.
Sure. I was thinking about it. A lot of what made my campaign successful wasn't necessarily the work that I put into it, but I think it was more the product that I was launching. Like Melinda said, products are often easier for crowdfunding. What I launched was the first map, the first Green Goat map of which now we have 9 titles out, but this was the first one. It's a winter trails map showing snowshoeing and cross-country skiing and hiking trails in the Saranac Lake and Lake Placid region. The things that made it, I don't want to say successful, but easy for people to support was that, first of all, they get something. So they get a map. They're basically chipping into the crowdfunding campaign, and in return, as a present, they get a product, which is comparable. It's in the price range of what they're committing. The other thing is the map is local, and it is targeted towards people that are already in my friend network, and that made social marketing very easy. I just did lots of social media posts on my private Facebook and account, and then friends and friends of friends were the ones that ordered. I could see who ordered, so the database shows who's ordering and it gives me their address. So it was very apparent that it was a lot of people that I knew or that friends of mine knew. The other thing that made my campaign successful is that it was very low cost. So I think I looked at the prices. I think they were $14 each, or $16 with a free sticker. So it was an easy number for somebody to just say, you know what, I want to support this. I can spare $14. Plus I get a nice map. And the other thing is there's some other benefits, like by doing it through the Ignite platform, they got their maps first. Whereas if they didn't do it through that, they would have had to wait till it was released, find out about it, and then go to a local retailer or go onto my website to order it. So it's kind of an easy way of getting informed by just getting the map as soon as it comes out.
Danny, can I add?
Yeah, absolutely.
This may not be as pertinent to Ignite, but I think it could be. And that is one of the other benefits to doing crowdfunding campaign is that you can reach audiences from beyond your local community, particularly if you've got friends like Ezra does, who he can encourage to do that. You know, people who may be visitors who love the Adirondacks and come and stay with a friend every year, you know, things like that. So, thanks.
That's great. A great addition. Lauren, do you want to tell us a little bit just about overall, a little bit more about Ignite, if that's helpful? And then just, you know, what it looks like to have a good campaign through that particular platform. I know we haven't quite touched on the sort of like thresholds and like who it's targeted at yet. So that this might be a good time to chat about that.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. So I think the things that make Ignite different are, one, it's specifically for-profit businesses. We saw a need for that in this area where it was kind of tricky for for-profit businesses to do crowdfunding locally. It keeps the dollars local. There's a low threshold. Right now we have a limit for $3,000 campaigns with the occasionally we'll go up to 5 if there's a really good case for that. But that can be a plus for some people and a minus for other people, depending on how much money they need to raise. But I think especially since a lot of the folks that we work with for Ignite have never done a crowdfunding campaign before, it's really important to keep that number lower to begin with so that you have a successful campaign under your belt. There's no limit. You can run another campaign if you want to in the future, but we like it to be small to begin with. So that also so that the platform builds some success and a good reputation as we go forward. So, and then I think another piece about it that makes it different is that we're right here at ANCA. We're human beings, not that the people behind Kickstarter aren't human beings. I think they are, but it might be hard to reach them. Like if you set up a campaign with one of these larger platforms, you know, that might be a good fit for you. But if it's not, you could make a mistake, especially if you're new to crowdfunding I've seen this happen before where people make a mistake about, like Melinda was saying, with the timeline they set up or the dollar amount they're trying to raise. And they're like, oh no, I made a mistake. I'm never going to reach this threshold. And you have to make the whole amount if you're going to get any of the money. So people are like what we call backers are basically pledging this money to you. It doesn't immediately go into your pocket or your bank account. You have to raise a certain amount before you get a payout. So with Ignite, you have to raise 50% in order to get any of the money. And so we won't like hit those accounts until, we won't draw the money from those accounts until you reach 50%. And if you make a mistake about your timeline and it's not going how you expected, you can talk to us. There's an open line of communication and there's an opportunity to change that deadline if you need to, or things like that. So it's not like as set in stone as some of these other platforms might be. So I think that can be one of the benefits of Ignite versus another platform. I think I'm going to stop talking for now.
No, that's great. Let's jump back to Ezra. Ezra, if you were going to increase your odds of success or do another campaign now that you're doing other things in your business, what does that look like for you? And would you do anything differently?
Yes, I would. And it's because I've grown as a business since then. So at the time we did social media, I made some mock-ups of what the map would look like. I found a thing online to show a visual of a folded out map, and I imposed my image over it and it shows somebody holding it. So I didn't have a real product, so I had to make it look nice. So that's kind of what I had available to me for marketing. If I were to do it again, I would do a larger social media campaign with more paid advertising and put a real budget to it, and I would do a video. I think those are the two main things. I would also do a better job of word of mouth, but I'd also track the referral traffic to the website. So I've been doing a lot more of that lately with SEO and Google and all that. So I would increase that.
Great. Those are some awesome insights. Melinda, I think you touched upon this a little bit about different kinds of crowdfunding campaigns when you introed, but there's two things that, my question that we wrote down was, what are the differences, or what would you recommend for folks who are starting a business versus growing a business using crowdfunding as a tool? And I wonder if you could answer that, but also you spoke a little bit to the idea of debt financing with the Village Mercantile and how maybe you folks decided to make that decision. So just that sort of starting up, growing, like where could crowdfunding be a good fit, and what are some of the things folks should think about at those different business stages?
I think having a startup doing it as a startup is really challenging. So it can be done. I mean, Crua was the example I used earlier in terms of their initial attempt, but they had the product. I mean, they knew they could do that, and they knew, and it was a pretty sexy product in a lot of ways. So that would be the exception to the rule. And I know that there are probably plenty of other Kickstarter campaigns where there's just been an initial product, but it's a cool product, and people have used that to get started. I think the challenging part, if you do it as a startup, is first of all, you're not known. You won't have the social media networks that somebody else would. You probably will need more resources to do paid advertising and all of those kind of good things. Also, you don't have the track record as a business, although with a product related Kickstarter campaign, that probably won't make a difference. But internally, you need to have your act together so that you can fulfill all those great orders that you bring in and utilize all the other information you can get from your campaign. So I think that just adds an element of readiness that's needed that you may not be aware of if you are just starting. In terms of the debt financing that we did, as I kind of, for the Village Mercantile, as I alluded to earlier, there's a lot of typically equity raising that happens on those kinds of crowdfunding, and by equity, you're essentially selling stock, you're usually selling stock rather than convertible debt, but that might be an option too. We decided at the Village Mercantile to do the debt financing because we thought that it was important, particularly in terms of attracting people outside of the Saranac Lake region to participate in the campaign. We wanted them to know that they could get their money back. I mean, equity financing is wonderful, but you have to have a much longer view on your return than you do when you're getting offering a loan to a company. And the way that WeFunder allowed us to set it up is that we had the initial 2 years, we didn't have to repay anybody. But meanwhile, their investment was gaining, I think it's 5% interest a year, which is, not bad these days. So anyway, that's how we set it up. As I said, we did offer perks at certain levels. And I gotta say, the number of people who we started paying it back at the beginning of this year, and the number of people who were blown away by the fact that they were getting a check in the mail was really interesting. So that's been kind of fun. So that's an answer to your question about the debt financing. So
That's great. If you don't want to answer this, that's fine. But one of the folks in the chat just wanted to know how much was raised for the Village Mercantile.
oh, sure. Let's see. It was around $85,000, something like that. I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't remember exactly.
We're not going to hold you to it. Don't worry.
Don't quote me, thank you. In that range, sure.
So if you have an $85,000 project, Ignite is probably not for you. We talked a little bit about that already. This is small scale, localized crowdfunding support, especially to sort of just get your foot wet. What are some of the other things that, makes Ignite the right or not the right choice for somebody looking to crowdfund? Lauren, do you want to go into some of those other reasons they might want to use this versus another platform, or, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. I think that threshold is the biggest one, but then also it could have to do too, like Melinda also was saying earlier, about the reach. I mean, not that a link to your Ignite campaign couldn't get to somebody in California or wherever, but I think some of these other campaigns are obviously much larger, and their geographic reach might be better, and they're just more established too than us. So I think if you're looking to reach a larger geographic area and kind of group of people, then that could be another reason to go with a different. But if it's a very localized product and or business, like what Ezra was doing with the maps, I think Ignite really could be a great fit, and makes a lot of sense. And there's also been, something that hasn't really come up yet today in this call is that something I think Ignite really has specialized in thus far is more like project-based campaigns versus necessarily, sometimes it is a product, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it's a project. And that can be really tricky because I don't think it can just be any project. If you're like, we need a new boiler in our basement, that's probably not going to, I mean, who knows? Some people are great storytellers, and if you say it the right way, maybe you could make it work. But I think it needs to be something very tangible and something that your customer base is excited about, your community is excited about, and that is clearly going to make a large difference for your business to really help you grow and kind of either provide a new product that they're excited about or something like that. So Triple Green Jade Farm did a really successful campaign maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. And they did a pizza oven. So people were really excited to be able to excited about that. So that was a successful campaign. And that's something where I think the storytelling really, really comes in, because if you're not doing good, strong storytelling, it's not going to inspire people to back your project. So same thing with Origin Coffee Company. They did a similar, theirs was more of an equipment purchase campaign where they purchased an espresso machine for their coffee cart to kind of up the level of their coffee cart and the amount of events they could do as a business. And that was like a game changer for them to be able to be more versatile and make more money. And their customer base is really strong and was really excited about that project. So I think that just both of those projects just underscore that storytelling piece, and like also having kind of already a customer base that really loves your business and wants to see you succeed. It's very community oriented. I just totally went off the rails on that, Danny. Sorry. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
No, you absolutely did. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Ezra, you're a big part of your local community. You own and operate a whole bunch of different revenue streams and are very business minded. If another business was coming to you and they were doing a crowdfunding campaign. What would make you want to give to them? What would make you want to invest in their campaign? What advice might you have for another business owner?
I don't know, maybe just to feel like I'm getting something out of it. So I personally contributed to the Triple Jade Farm pizza oven, and the reason I liked it was I think I got 8 loaves of bread or something for however much I contributed. But it was also just nice to know that that would help them continue their presence at the farmers market, and I like having them there. So I feel like I was getting something directly out of that because they were a local business and I'd see them again. So I think that's really it, that you get something out of it.
That's great. Thank you. And Melinda, is there a best time of year to do this kind of thing, or to sort of start thinking about your crowdfunding campaign?
Well, I'll go back to the Village Merc. We did the prep work for it in pretty much January, February timeframe. I still thought that worked pretty well for us, because then we were able to launch in the spring. And spring, I know it's, at least in the Adirondacks, it seems to be a time of everybody feeling energized and excited about things, but they're not crazy yet the way everybody gets around the summer. So I think spring is a really good time to be doing a crowdfunding campaign. Fall is probably a pretty okay time as well. I think summer is really difficult, because even if you don't live in the Adirondacks, you're way busier, just out and about. And so shoulder seasons, I think, are good times.
Great. Thank you so much. Lauren, tell us a little bit about, if somebody were to sign up for the Ignite program, wanted to start their own crowdfunding campaign through that platform, what would they expect in terms of the timeline, the process? What would they do?
Sure. So the way to sign up is to go to the website igniteadk.org. We should have told you that sooner. And then there's a form there that you can fill out. It's just an interest form that says, hey, I'm thinking about running an Ignite campaign. You don't have to have the whole thing figured out when you do that form. It's just telling us, I'm interested in doing this. And then we'll reach out to you and we'll set up kind of a little interview. Like, I'll just sit down with you and learn more about what your goals are. And I'll answer questions if you have them and learn more about your business. And then you can think about it and decide, okay, I want to go forward with this, or this isn't the right fit for me. And then if you decide, yes, I want to do this, then I will make you a login for our website, and you can go in and build your profile. It's you sketching out what your campaign is going to look like. So that's really where the rubber starts to meet the road a little bit, because you start to actually see it come together. And you're just drafting it up in there, and you let me know when that's ready. And then we have an advisory committee who the information gets sent to. And their role really is not so much yes or no, but more just, here's some feedback to help your campaign be more successful from their perspective. And they're all people who have different levels of expertise from different kind of angles into this. So they can offer some really valuable feedback about, like, oh, if you had a picture that was like this, it might be really inspiring. Or if your storytelling was more from this perspective, or that kind of thing. Or we need, a lot of times, one of the things that comes up is we need to see more. There's a section in there on the website that doesn't end up visible to the public, but it's kind of more on the internal side of your marketing plan. So that's really important, and that's something that the advisory committee members really want to see and take a close look at, because that's going to be really your make or break for your campaign. So, and that's something they can offer some good feedback on. So that's really valuable. Their feedback is really, really valuable in running a successful campaign. So once that happens, you will have some time to make any updates based on their feedback. And then we can get ready to go live with your campaign. I think 2 really important points about this are that, obviously, we talked about the promotion and marketing plan being really, really important, but then also, so INCA is a regional organization. Like I said at the beginning, we're 14 counties all northern New York State. So you need to be within one of those counties to be eligible. But also, because we're a regional organization, we cannot toot our horn for one business. It's not kind of politically savvy to do that. So we really want to run more than one campaign at a time. And the timeline of campaigns can be really, really affected by that. I just want to be really transparent about that. So if we only have one person who's interested at one time in running a campaign or one business, we're going to want to hold until we have at least one or two other businesses who want to run it. So if you know of somebody else who's interested, like, it might be good to say, hey, come on, like, let's both do this. And then we can put that out. And then we can say, hey, to our audience as ANCA, we can say, we have these great campaigns running, go check them out. So that's a lot easier for us to talk about to our audience than one business. So the promotion really, really is going to fall mostly on the business, like with any crowdfunding campaign. So I think that's really, really important to be aware of.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Those are some good insights, and thanks for explaining the caveat about making sure that we have a few businesses up and running at the same time. And we do have a couple in the hopper now. So if we get, 1, 2 more, we should be able to go live with all of them right about the same time. So if you're interested, this is a great time to talk to us about that. Awesome. So Ezra, is there anything that you didn't get to say about your campaign, about crowdfunding in general, that you want to make sure that our listeners today are aware of, or that you want to make sure you add in?
I don't think so. I think it all worked really well. It was the right amount of money to kick off my project. And it really helped get me to be more organized about it if I were just kind of doing it on my own. And it worked. I liked it.
Melinda, hot and pressing last words on your end, and then we'll take some more questions.
I would underscore something Ezra said earlier, which is that doing videos for your campaign is really important. So that was my one thought.
Great. Thank you so much. Lauren, anything you didn't get to add in that you'd love to make sure that you say?
I think I'm good for now. Thank you.
No problem. We do have one question in the chat. Has anyone dealt with kiva.org, KIVA.org, or any feedback on that?
Not dealt with them, know of them.
Is that the loan one?
I believe so.
Sorry, Charles, that wasn't very helpful. Do you got another question that we can help you with?
Well, they have a great reputation, so.
Great. Does anybody else have any questions?
That was it. They were recommended to us for their social responsibility and whatnot. Apparently, they are well regarded for microfunding as well, and we're trying to sort them out. Indiegogo, Kickstarter, etc. And that's the appeal of Ignite. So it came to our attention. I think this is where we are. All right, thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. We're so glad you're here. Yeah. Anyone else? Questions, comments, concerns? Anything you want to share or ask?
Danny, can I add one thing to
the
question? Which is, as he was asking the question, I had mentioned earlier the importance of really vetting the platform, which obviously he's doing. We ended up having an account manager kind of person. And if the platform that you're working with has that can be really helpful, help you navigate all kinds of different things that come up. So just something to think about.
That's great. All right. Anyone else? A quick question. Any differences between profit and nonprofit and crowdfunding? So the Ignite campaign is specifically for for-profit businesses, but there are lots of other options and opportunities for nonprofits to crowdfund it as well. Lauren, do you want to speak to that at all or pitch it over?
Trying to look and see if I think there are a lot of other options. I can dig up a link where there's some options. I think a nonprofit can crowdfund on pretty much any of the larger platforms. We started Ignite specifically for for-profit businesses because there were so many options for nonprofits already, and like for local businesses, which is kind of who we work with a lot. But I'm going to try to find that link.
And if you don't mind, Connie Prickett, I'll put you on the spot a little bit about just answering that question too. You at the Adirondack Foundation have some more experience on the nonprofit side of things, and thanks so much for being here today.
Sure. Yeah, I was listening to all of the about what makes a good campaign was really awesome to hear. So Adirondack Foundation years ago started a crowdfunding platform specifically for Adirondack nonprofits. And at that time, like there were not a lot for nonprofits. And so we were sort of filling a niche, but I would say keep those same things in mind. Strong visuals, great storytelling. Those are the things that will make any, for-profit or nonprofit crowdfunding campaign successful. We had a lot of people who would come to Adirondack Foundation thinking that, I think with an expectation, and I think maybe we had an expectation when we first started, and I wasn't at the foundation at that time when it started, but I think that there was like that people just sort of go out looking for these things. Like some people would just like land on our website and just start perusing, but that's not really the case. Like it really takes a lot of work to you really need something exciting, and you need to know that you have the support, the tools in place to get the word out to as many people as you possibly can, and just keep up a steady pace to be successful.
Those are all great insights. Thank you so much, Connie. And I apologize for putting you on the spot there. I appreciate it so much.
No worries. Lauren and I chatted a little bit yesterday, so you didn't surprise me totally.
Okay. Other questions that we have for our panelists, or questions about the Ignite platform? Anything else anyone want to ask? You can do it now in the chat. You could unmute yourself, or you can send us an email afterwards. That's totally fine too. Great. Well, I think my job moderating is done. So I'm going to hand the mic back over to Lauren, if you don't mind, and to close us up.
Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. And thanks, Connie, for jumping in on that. I just put the Ignite website link in the chat. So if anybody's interested in learning more, we have a whole document in there with like all the kind of nitty-gritty details about like eligibility and all of the different things, kind of a little bit more about how to run a campaign. And so if you want to do your homework, or if you're interested and you want to learn more, you can head over there. And that's also where that form is that I talked about, the interest form that you can use to get started with a campaign. So if anybody wants to run a campaign kind of during this season of giving time of year and see how that goes, we can definitely do that. And I think unless anybody has any other questions, I think we'll close it out for the day. Wait a little bit. All right, and please feel free to, I'll put my email address here too in the chat in case anybody has questions that they want to ask in the future. All right, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.
A good holiday if you celebrate.
Thank you, Lauren.
Happy Thanksgiving almost.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks to Melinda and Danny and Ezra as well for helping out with this today.
You're welcome. Take care.